Welcome, everyone. We're just going to wait a couple seconds to allow our attendees to join this webinar. Okay, we can get started. Hello, my name is Anna, and it's my pleasure as the Assistant Director of Constituent Relations to welcome you all to this 49er industry chat. Before we start, we would just like to inform you that this session is being recorded, and after it will be uploaded onto our website at csulb.edu /alumni, where it'll be able to live there on our YouTube channel. So once posted, feel free to share this with a friend, fellow alumni, or someone within your network that you think could benefit from this chat. We also encourage you to use the Q&A box to submit any questions you have for our guest speaker. My colleague Rosalinda will be moderating the chat during this webinar. And now I would like to introduce our alumni host, Shirley. Welcome. Before we start our questions, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly read your bio once again. So Shirley Barrera earned her BA in Communicative Disorders from CSULB in 2003 and has dedicated the past 20 years to inspiring students and supporting educators. She began her career as a substitute teacher before moving into the classroom in 2006, where she taught fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. In 2015, Shirley became an instructional technology coach, helping teachers integrate technology into their curriculum through lesson modeling, coaching, curriculum planning, and district-wide professional development. In 2019, she joined the founding team of her district's dual language IB school as the IB coordinator, guiding teachers through the development and implementation of the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program and supporting the school through full authorization. In 2023, Shirley stepped into the school leadership as a vice principal, where she now helps guide a vibrant elementary community of more than 700 students. She supports district initiatives, fosters positive school culture, manages student discipline, and strengthens partnerships with families. Beyond her professional dedication, she is a proud mother of three, an aspiring college-bound senior, a high school track athlete, and a devoted baseball playing seventh grader. Fun fact, she has also met her husband of 18 years during her final year at Cal State Long Beach. So they are both proud alumni of the beach. Without further ado, Shirley, thank you so much for being here today and welcome. If you want to say hello and if there's anything I may have missed, please feel free to share.
No, I mean, you've shared pretty much everything of my journey. I am a proud alumni of Long Beach State. My husband and I often have taken our kids there through their years, sharing with them just all the wonderful opportunities that college has for you. As Anna shared, I began my career as a substitute teacher, and I'm sure if you can see my degree has nothing to do really. I mean, it is working with students, but really has nothing to do with being a teacher. When I initially went in to college, I went in undeclared, and I really went in just thinking, let me see what I really would like to do. And to be honest, was just little by little, just reading through different degrees, different descriptions. It's how I ended up with communicative disorders. It really sounded like a really awesome pathway to
Mhm.
go through, becoming an SLP. It even intrigued me to be at the school level for the speech language pathologist. But as I was getting closer to graduation, I did feel it in my gut. I was going through the classes and I was getting things done, but it wasn't a passion or a heart of mine. So it was getting harder for me to get work done. But I got it done because, that motivation to graduate was there.
Right.
In my window, though, of like trying to apply, because in order to be a true practitioner in the SLP world, you do need to have a master's degree. It's
Mhm.
kind of where I began this journey of where I'm at. And without knowing, I kind of just got to venture into it. So then I was looking into applying for master's programs. And thankfully, I did get to be a part of, I came back to my home district. It's where I grew up. And they only required your bachelor's and your CSET to pass it to be a substitute teacher. And I thought, let me start going there. Let me see how this will go. While I start applying for master's programs, I wasn't in a rush, but I was getting things done. And it was where I started subbing that I really found my passion. And I realized how much I loved doing what I was doing. So then that's where my pathway began. So then I ended up looking into the credentialing program, and I was
Hmm.
short few classes because I didn't have an undergrad in liberal studies.
Hmm.
Um, but that wasn't anything else that I had to, it wasn't hard. Just add those classes, postgraduate kind of courses, and I went that pathway.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of touched upon the first question I had, which was like, tell me about your experience and what led you to Cal State Long Beach. But, even during that time as a student, did you participate in any clubs? Were you active in any, extracurriculars during your time while you were kind of navigating that path?
Actually, I was a Long Beach State cheerleader.
Oh, fun.
It's always a fun fact. In our school, we do trading cards, and so it's a fun fact I put in the back for the students to read, and they absolutely love it. They always get super pumped and excited to know that. And I started Long Beach State. My first semester, I did not try out for the team. I'm not pretty much sure why I didn't really know there was a cheer team.
Hmm.
But then I found it through the grapevine and I tried out for a second semester and I was on it for 2 years. It's where I met
Oh,
a lot of
amazing.
my lifelong friends at Long Beach State.
Amazing. Do you have any fun games or teams, sports that you cheered for during your time here that you remember?
Yes, I really, really loved and enjoyed cheering for the girls' volleyball team.
Oh, amazing. Yes.
I was there cheering during the time, and I right now I'm drawing a blank of her name, but she's an Olympic US.
Misty May Trainer.
Yeah. Wait, who was it?
Are you talking about Misty May Trainer?
Yes, I was there when she was there. And
That is very
so
cool.
it
It's
was kind of
bragging
pretty
rights.
cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool because I would see the games are fun. They were actually super engaging, fun, and I never had watched volleyball before, so it was kind of really cool to see it that way.
Oh, that's such a fun experience. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so, for those who are not familiar, could you provide a brief highlight of what the IB Primary Years Program is whenever you spent your time doing that?
Yes, well, the IB World is a worldwide organization that really they're well known outside of the United States, even though we have many schools and many states that do offer the IB program,
Hmm.
but they are worldwide schools. So we follow a curriculum in which they have a framework, so our standards will fit into the framework, but it is a worldwide view, and their mission statement is to really develop individuals and students that are culturally aware and see the world in different perspectives. You teach with a concept-based lens. And so when you're teaching about, let's just say I'm going to call conflict is it's a concept, conflict. And I'm a fifth grade teacher because that's where I'm familiar with my curriculum.
Hmm.
The conflict is the Civil War. The conflict is American Revolution. But what you really can teach with conflict is that civil wars exist everywhere. Because a
Hmm.
civil war they exist across the world. So
Right.
you're able to bring in all these experiences and conversations about what the world really brings forth. And so it's a lot of hands-on learning as well because you do a lot of mind maps, a lot of collaborative working, a lot of presentations, a lot of developing the student I mean, the skills that they're really working on are skills that, to be honest, when they're in primary years, they're probably working in middle school year, kind of skills. When they're middle school, they're kind of working high school level skills. And currently, my son is actually in the IB program for our middle schools. And every unit, he has to have a reflection that he completes and submits
Oh, interesting.
that's tagged on to his summative assessment, in which he's learned how to read rubrics now. And so he's only 12.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, so it's kind of pretty awesome. Um, we don't have many PYP schools, which is primary years, but we do have locally a lot of DP programs, which are the high school years. So like locally, Sonora High School in La Habra is a DP school. I want to say there's one in Long Beach, but I have vague memory of that one because I was more focused on the primary years.
Okay.
But what I do know is there wasn't many schools out there in the primary year program. So when we developed the program here at the district, the goal was a second language. And the primary year programs, they in every IB program, they require you to have a second language as an option in their curriculum.
Hmm.
So it kind of worked simultaneously. We're doing dual language and added the IB and kind of tagged it on together, and it worked.
Oh, amazing. And then from your time helping teachers integrate, that type of technology into their curriculum, how do you ensure technology meaningfully enhances the instruction rather than sometimes becoming a distraction for it?
That's a really good question. It was very strategically planned out when we first began our implementation. I will say COVID really expedited the use of technology, I think, in a lot of our schools. So thankfully, I was an instructional technology coach and we began that implementation prior to COVID.
Hmm.
So that we were able to truly do it in the systematic way that we did it, which was there was four of us in my team. Each of us had four elementary schools that we worked with, or three. I worked with four. I had one additional one, but there was three or four. And we were that it was designed where you were receiving the iPads in your classroom, and for the first year, your instructional technology coach needed to sit in all of your plannings once a week.
Hmm.
So and so the documentation and the accountability was once a week, your coach would be meeting with you. So initially was just me going into these meetings and because relationship building is a lot when you're working with adult learners.
Right.
A lot of it at the beginning was just the relationship building. And once you get to know, like navigate, um, I mean, I got the gamut, but the of like teachers that probably were so scared to have technology in their classroom, some that
Hmm.
were ready to just jump in right away. So every single PLC that I worked with or grade level I worked with was at a different trajectory, but the goal was always that you met with your coach every week. And so with that, they were always, I was always ensuring that the conversations were around how can we integrate the technology tool to this lesson? How can we integrate this with this lesson? And reminding them of the SAMR model of technology, which is the difference between substituting, augmentation, and then once we start really truly modifying and redefining the learning in collaborative and creative ways. In addition, first year, every year with your instructional technology coach, you attended professional developments around technology integration.
Hmm.
And then the following year, their commitment was only to make sure your coach was with you every other, like twice a week, I would say, twice a month,
Yeah.
I would say. But it was strategically planned out that way, where every single grade level, every single teacher was going to have their coach part of their learning process. Now that we are full blown one-to-one technology, I mean, and we
Yes.
get it, it is something that now is in the forefront. So whenever we hire new teachers, they are part of our teacher academies, in which they're not only getting support in how the curriculum is being used in the classrooms, how we're using the initiatives in our classrooms, but technology is always part of the integration in their lessons.
Hmm. Yeah, which was such a huge factor, post-pandemic now with
Yes.
learning. And so this kind of also ties in with one of the questions we just got in the chat. So you saw education, pre-pandemic, and during that forced digital transformation through COVID and post-pandemic, is there a technology tool or approach you think that education may have gotten wrong, or something everyone adopted that you thought to swap out?
Like technology used pre and post, kind of like that. Is that really the
That or in the sense of, everyone had to shift digitally during that pandemic, and now that we're kind of in that post-pandemic shift, is there something that you think, was forced on to teachers through their education and teaching students that maybe missed the mark? And now you're suggesting, swap it out for another tool.
So one thing we did notice initially, but in time it's kind of gone away.
Hmm.
So it's been like a positive thing, but it was obviously when you don't know what you don't know. I always
Right.
say it like that. So one of the things that happened was clearly through screens, it's really hard to keep students engaged without any visuals or any really true supports of that connection you have when you're in the classroom. So our teachers did an amazing job of creating visual slide decks that supported them with their lesson design via screen.
Hmm.
So as they were talking, the slide matched what they were talking about. They were able to share the resources, links, and it was always great. When we shifted back into in person, our teachers, their mindset went straight into the slide deck design because that's what they
Hmm.
had created. Now, what we did notice, well, one of the things I noticed when we went back was how many of our amazing teachers lost those teachable moments where you just get your paper and pencil and it's at hand kind of learning moment because
Yeah.
it wasn't pre-planned on a slide deck.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of their planning was very cookie cutter on them and no fault to our teachers, it's what they got used to for 2 years almost,
Right.
where everything was planned out. But when you're in person, that sometimes your lessons will not flow how you plan them, and it just is what it is. And so when it was a hard shift of like remembering that those slide decks support with visuals, they support with resources, but they're not your teaching tool. And so that was a huge shift when we came back, where I do think the teachers did put upon themselves a lot of that added layer of like planning, where we're going to have a slide deck for this lesson, a slide deck for that lesson, where it literally cuts it really clean for them.
Right.
But when you're back in the classroom, you don't really need that clean cut because the day will flow through technology, without technology, and it just kind of flows. So it took about 2 years to get out of that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say from my experience, I'm not sure if others are experiencing it, but from my experience, we do have the positive is our teachers have used the technologies in the right ways in regarding supporting with visuals, any resources, they have it at hand, so instantly on their iPads. Teachers have their own district iPads as well as they have a district laptop. So we have iPads and laptops that are used within our teachers. So that's a really huge positive because when technology was first being integrated, teachers didn't think ahead to be like, oh, I should find that image online to support, or I should find
Right.
resources. So now they have that kind of like a toolkit for them. And they've shifted away from having the slide decks as their learning lesson. I'm seeing a lot more of like in the last, gosh, it's been, I don't even know how many years it's been. It feels like
It feels
even
like
a
so
month
long
ago.
ago.
But I see a lot of like the carpet time conversations now, the chart papers, the on paper visuals too to support some of our multilingual learners. So a lot of the shift, but one of the biggest positives is that the teachers truly have learned to use a technology tool as the resource and part of their toolkits.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, post shift COVID area, that technology is still there for them that maybe was not there previously.
Yes, I think it was always there, but I mean, if you don't learn it, you don't use it. So it kind of pushed them to learn it.
Yes. So I'm sure there was probably quite a few challenges during the implementation of that IB, program, but COVID kind of helped launch them into
Yes.
the deep end to force themselves to learn essentially. So, you had that, I guess, is one positive approach or thinking and outlook of, the benefits of something like that that just got people to be on the same page of using technology.
Yes, I do think so, but it was a team effort. It wasn't like I will say it was a team effort. You come
Hmm.
back post-pandemic and it's reminding them like, okay, remember before we closed our doors, what did teaching look like?
Right.
And what were the positives? And it just takes those good conversations, whether it's you talking to a grade level as an administrator or as an IB coordinator, I was still like kind of in an instructional role, instructional coach
Hmm.
role. So it helped me be kind of a colleague with my teachers. And so I was always able to have those conversations with them. As an administrator, it looks differently, but I could still have those same conversations.
Right. And going kind of even farther back, whenever you were teaching those various grades, um, what was the most challenging part as being a teacher during that time?
During prior, I mean, I wasn't a teacher during COVID. I will
Right, no, right, yeah.
so
So, I mean, was there a grade that maybe you enjoyed teaching more between the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade? Was
I
there one year that was more challenging than another?
every year brings you shifts. I'll be honest, fifth grade is my heart, even till this day. There's times when I will take over a class and they tell me it's a fifth grade. I'm like, right on, give it on. And I love it. A lot of it is the relatable piece with students. It works the same. You're working with adults, you need to build relationships. And I think that's a huge thing with education. You got to know how to build relationships. Everyone
Mhm.
builds relationships differently, but you got to relate with the kids and you got to know that every kid is different. And I think if there's any real big challenges, it was my learning curve, my personal learning curve, in how do I handle my own behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reality is, you know, we think behaviors have to be always handled by an administrator. But there's a lot of day-to-day behaviors that if you build the respect and the communication with your parent and your teach and the child, um, it really can disseminate before it ever becomes anything more. But I think when you're starting to teach, uh, it's not one of those innate things for everybody. And so I do know, I think it took me about 3 years to get to that part where I realized it was the relationship piece building that made the biggest difference for me. So I would say that once I figured that out, like having problems with my class, I really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest challenges were probably because I just happened to have had a class where two individuals should never have been in the same class together because they always
Mm.
each
Butt
other.
heads,
Yeah,
yes.
they're always going to do this. And they're going to do this whether they're adults, they're going to do this whether they're
Right.
ninth grade. And I would say that would have been my most challenging. But other than that, I mean, I had students that couldn't sit down the whole time and it was okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
So they always had a certain spot that they worked standing up. And it was, I mean, I'm the same way. I can't sit all day. So, I mean, it was just that relationship building.
Oh, yeah, very interesting point. And being adaptable and, those different personalities as well.
Yes.
And
Um,
so now fast forward with you as a vice principal. So what made you want to pursue this type of career? Was this part of your journey more intentional, or did you also kind of fall into it?
I kind of fell into it. And the funny thing is that I will still bump into friends that, I'm a vice principal. They're like, I never knew you wanted to be a vice principal. And I always say, I never knew I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that fell into it. I think being an IB coordinator and supporting the teachers in that capacity of leadership is
Hmm.
what helped me, I guess, see what the potential of your footprints or handprint
Hmm.
can look like outside of your personal four walls. And at the time, my school that I was at as an IB coordinator was needing a vice principal. So in my heart of hearts, I just found it like the perfect opportunity. Like, hey, let me go for it. Let me try. But the reality was we had four other elementary schools that were in need of vice principals. Um,
Hmm.
and because that was the year we never used to have a vice principal and a principal at all of our schools.
Oh,
That
interesting.
was the
Okay.
year they made that shift. And so that's why it opened up four positions,
Positions.
my school being one of them at the time. And I just in my heart of hearts was hoping that they would give me my school, but they didn't. But that's okay, because they shifted me to where I'm at now, and it has been another learning experience for me that I've gotten to explore a whole side of education that I was very well not aware of. Uh,
Hmm.
we house the DHH program at our school, as well as we have our life skills program at our school, as well as, the special education that all of our schools tend to have. But I've been able to truly encompass all of the gamut of what a school can hold. And I think that that learning piece was huge. I will say, intentionally now, I think I got to the point where I can see myself being a principal. But my heart is always a teacher. If you told me today that there's not going to be a vice principal and you need to go back to the classroom, I would be okay.
Oh, wonderful. Go
Because
back to fifth grade?
I would go back to fifth grade. I just students and that's one part I have been asked if I see myself further, like what are my goals?
Hmm.
But I've just like I fell into teaching, I've allowed life to kind of just unfold for me. And it's allowed me, and I have a learner perspective in life.
Hmm.
So it's allowed me to progressively move in the right trajectory for myself. And it's something that I do encourage a lot. My younger staff, when I'm have teachers that I'm observing, I
Hmm.
always, let I ask them what their passions are. I ask them, but I always tell them my journey so that they know that yeah, there's so many possibilities for themselves. But I do know that being at a school site for right now is what really truly inspires me every day. My teachers inspire me, my students inspire me, and I don't see myself outside of a school yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so amazing to think like just the different routes you could take
Yes.
in being a public educator. And so, what would a typical day look like for you in this type of position as a vice principal?
So as a vice principal, I do oversee specific things. So and this could be just what my principal and I have built, but I was previously a vice principal at another school, and it's something I had built with my principal as well. I'm responsible for the school culture team, which we support all of the PBIS or incentives or any type of systems that we have in place at our school to
Hmm.
support behavior. And I oversee any behaviors if they do appear. I also oversee our student supervision team. And I do have certain every year my principal and I divide and conquer the teachers that are observed.
Hmm.
So my typical day is as soon as I come in, I just really launch the day with making sure I have the to do, like the big ones, because emails will come through at the night. I'll have a parent reach out and I wasn't aware of, or a teacher say, "Hey, this parent let me know this," and so I come in and right away know what I need to attend to
Right.
to get started. But my biggest thing is making sure I welcome the students and welcome the parents. And once all of arrival happens and I'm out there at the lineup, I'm out there at the drive-through, walking with the teachers, with the parents, I mean, and letting the
Hmm.
kids come through. I make my rounds, and you just have certain students. Every year it's going to be a different set. You'll see the
Right.
maturity come, but I do have a set of students that I do check-ins with every single morning. And I just,
Wonderful.
number one, check in, are they here? Number two, check in. We're going to have a good day. It's going to be wonderful. And then from there, whatever tasks, if I'm preparing for a meeting, which, like I said, I'm responsible for the supervision team. So sometimes we have a meeting once a month. I make sure I have the agendas, the slide, the Canva presentation for that. Same thing when we do our leadership meetings, we have leadership meetings within our school sites. I support my administrator with that. Any of those small admin duty tasks, I'll do
Hmm.
between like all my check-ins and recess. Um, this could be just our own philosophy here, but myself and my principal are out at every recess and every lunch duty.
Oh, amazing.
Um, that's basically our classroom.
Right.
What we have found is when we are out there present, the behaviors are not as present because we're attending to them right away.
Hmm.
Number one. Number two, our student supervision team is able to see how we support the behaviors, and they are learning how to speak to the students as well. And
Hmm.
then so they are able to handle the situations so that if I have to step away for an admin meeting at the district office, I know they are taking care of this situation the same way I would. And then honestly, a lot of my day is spent at the recesses and lunches, unless I'm at some district training or
Meeting.
admin meeting. But other than that, it's spent there. My in-betweens are connecting with parents if I needed to call them, or working on any agendas or any calendar stuff that we just need to update. And then at the end of the day, I'm at dismissal. And I'm supporting with the flow, I'm supporting with the traffic, I'm supporting with all of that. I mean, as duties as assigned, I basically say
Yeah.
dismissal is as duties as assigned. Um, but really being so hands-on has supported a lot of day to day to go really smoothly.
Yeah, you're all over the place, the school.
I know.
And
Sometimes I say I want roller skates to get to.
yes, make sure you get from A to B. And you just got another question in the chat. So you mentioned behaviors. What is a discipline situation that completely changed how you think about consequences versus support systems?
That's a really good question because I've seen such a shift through the years with this. So, what we have seen, so we did the PBIS, we began implementation of PBIS with LACO. It was pre-pandemic. But what we've really been able to do as a district after pandemic is create our own school culture team,
Hmm.
realizing that there really is some forms of interventions that can be created within school sites to support student behavior. And so we have an SEL team on on all of our campuses, which is our school-based therapist, and they usually have an intern. I actually support with the school the SEL team, social emotional learning team, and then our school psychologist, where we do a lot of preventative measures.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so as a PBIS school, I would say one of the things we have is a matrix. We changed the language, so it's like not you don't walk. Sorry, instead of a no, it's a positive way of saying it. Say we use walking feet in the hallway. It's just
Okay.
so what it basically comes down to is we need to remember like the conversations and the sentence frames of the matrix are all around the expectations versus the no's.
Right.
So we pick up our trash after we eat. Pick up litter, we see litter, we keep a litter-free campus by picking up trash when we see it. Everything is in what we expect.
Hmm.
And it's not wordy because it's elementary, so we keep it very simple.
Yes.
But it's all tied also with our district is a district-wide character counts district. Actually, our city has been district-wide character counts city. And so it's a language we all use in regards to what does it mean to be respectful, responsible, trustworthy, caring, a great citizen. And so we have that part of our language every single day. In addition to that, what supports a lot is a lot of the trainings with our teachers in regards to supporting students in their accountability.
Hmm.
So whenever I'm out at the recess, I'm gonna give this as an example. Someone will say he got pushed. When we talk to them, we always make sure, number one, you always have to tell an adult because the student narrative will always be, I got pushed.
Right.
But what we'll find out is they were playing tag and the other friend tagged him and he got out. That's pretty much what the story comes down to. And so that's what when I say we're out there for behaviors is our supervision team and myself, we're very good about telling the kids, okay, let's go back to where it started. And
Hmm.
and because it's become our culture for the last 3 years, um, students are really good about now making sure when they get hurt, it's a true narrative of what happened versus the narrative they created. But it all stems from really how we've changed the way we
Like
state.
rebranded it. Yes.
Yeah, instead of saying no talking, no standing, it's always like I'm trying to think of specifically one, but I know teachers say, I respect the learning environment I'm in by waiting my turn, or just little things, and we just do reminders. I mean, they're
Hmm.
kids
The
still learn,
repetition. Yeah, is
and it's
important.
the repetition. It's the same language through all the grade levels too, so that helps. Teachers are still able to have their own. I'm not saying that it's systematically uniformed because every
Hmm.
teacher has their own unique way of building relationships and their own unique way of consequences. But that most behaviors can be handled at that speaking level. And we always communicate with parents. And we will all and that can be I'm not sure if that's school wide or district wide, but I know personally myself. I will always call a parent. So I just want to make sure you know I spoke to your child today. Um, this
Mm-hmm.
is what he did. Again, I know he's a kindergartner. He's learning how to be
Right.
with peers. So I just like when I call, it's more of a partnership with parents versus I'm
Hmm.
dinging you because your child did something wrong.
Right. Oh, very interesting. Yeah, that repetition part, especially throughout their whole time
Yeah,
in
there are
school. It's important.
consequences for I'm gonna throw an example. Last year we did have a student. that just struggled with a lot of emotions. I'll put it
Hmm.
that way. So some of his outbursts were definitely in that borderline of like, do I suspend? Do I not suspend?
Mm.
Um, so it's it's a hard choice sometimes because sometimes when you have to remember as public school educators we really get the public
Right,
and when I sometimes find out that this child that had this didn't sleep all night had
right.
and
The external factors
I
outside
have
of
all these
school.
external factors I can't change. Sending him home isn't going to fix the problem.
Right.
And so, he's not going to change the behavior. And that's actually something we're all in agreement of at this school. If we know that a suspension is not going to change the behavior, then what can we do? And sometimes it's actually alternative recesses, which means they'll never be out there, but it's agreed upon with the teacher, it's agreed upon
Mm.
with me,
Hmm.
and it's agreed upon with the parent. And the parents will be very understanding and respectful because they're understanding that, sending them home isn't going to make a difference.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Just
I
being
hope that
creative in
helped.
those situations. No, 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 that was very helpful. I mean, it probably, something that I could maybe pass on to my niece, that whole idea of
Yeah.
rebranding the way you say no running.
Yeah, and it is a rebranding way. The way I train my team in the beginning of the year, my student supervisors, I always challenge them. I said, I challenge you this weekend to go to the park, and I want you to stand from behind and see how many parents have to remind their child how to properly play on the apparatus.
Hmm.
And then that tells you why we at school have to constantly remind them we go down the slide, not up the slide. We go across the monkey bar, not jump off of it.
Right.
And they laugh. But I tell them if a parent has to remind their child under their own care, then can you imagine us? We still have to remind them.
Yes. Yeah. Just keep it the same type of learning style, both in and out of that classroom. So that partnership, as you mentioned, with that parent is so important.
Yes.
And so, is there a more of a, fun question, I guess? Is there an aspect of being a vice principal that you wish more people knew about?
The one part I love the most, um, is number one, my classroom got bigger, and I love, love, love knowing all my families and their siblings. So when I see the families come, like that's the part that I love. As a classroom teacher, I only know my one student and the mom and
Hmm.
maybe, but when I see my families, they're truly our families, and I love that I know all of them. And oh my goodness, the TK is coming next year. I can't wait. We're excited. So I feel like the four walls that I once lived in as a classroom teacher just expanded.
Hmm.
Other layer that I really love that I think it's a hard one to get to. Um, but as an educator, if your passion and your heart is to give others the skills and the tools that help you grow as a vice principal, you do that for adults, and then that actually trickles down to students. So your impact becomes bigger. And that's the part that I love actually the most because I've been able to see um call outs. Like every school or every teacher has their own call out, whatever it is, waterfall, or flat tire, shh. And we all have our own. But what I love is sometimes I'll go walk through classrooms or hallways and I'll hear what I use, which I always do like a drum beat. And the teachers using it and their students responding to it. And like those are the things that being a vice principal or being in any administrative or leadership role, you don't realize that your impact starts really trickling to more.
Hmm. Oh, amazing. And how important is mentorship in this type of industry? Do you have any mentors, or do you even have any mentees, or some from previous years?
Huge. I honestly feel like having the right mentor will make or break an educator sometimes. Because I was really lucky and fortunate that when I began my first 5 years of education, I had an amazing mentor that literally sat with me every time I had to plan and really taught me how to think in a way that has helped me be able to be where I'm at now. Example is we get curriculum. And
Hmm.
a curriculum sometimes is written every single day how it is. And my mentor used to always let me only plan until Wednesdays, because on Wednesdays we would debrief. And on Wednesdays she's like, well, did they get the lesson? I'm like, no. So it's like you have to remember, like, if they're not getting something, you need to know where can I change? What can we do? It's not
Oh,
doing the
interesting.
same thing. And
Yes.
so she used to make me pause, and always redirect me to the goal, which is our standards.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes curriculum and just the busyness of being a teacher, I'm going to be honest, just the busyness every
Right.
day. Like today is festive sweater day, right? Like everything's gonna like, and tomorrow's gonna be pajama day and the Grinch is coming and a lot of things are just, the day just flies by and it just gets busy. But she was great at teaching me at a very young age of my career how important it is to know what your goal is every day in the classroom. It's not a checkoff list. It's the standards and it's how are we going to get it by the end of the week. So she taught me to see that so that as I grew in the profession, and I think it's what helped me the most when I was being a coordinator to an IB program,
Hmm.
because I had to teach these teachers or I had to support these teachers. I shouldn't say teach, but support them in having that mindset of this is the framework of the PYP. How do we fit in our standards in it? And a lot of it was that conversation of we could only plan this much and
Hmm.
have those and reflections. She taught me how to be a really reflective person in my career. Um, and we're not going to win them all. And
Right.
she did teach me not to beat myself up, because there's days you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I can't figure it out or I can't. But she was supportive, and so to be honest, because of that experience, I've been able to see how important it is to have someone support you in your thought process as you go. Days are crazy and busy. So when you have that she was part of my grade level team, so it was even more supportive because
Hmm.
then you have those lunch times where you're just laughing and you're just enjoying, and it's great. As I became a leader, I do have a really great friend that was just part of that yin and yang with me. And it's what helped me start thinking more school wide versus
Hmm.
classroom wide. And again, if it wasn't for mentorship, oh, hold on one second. Sorry.
It's
I
okay.
knew that was going to happen. It happened earlier. I have two sensor slides. And so when the first one went off, I was like, oh, it's okay. I can live off of the last one. Um, she did. I mean, those mentors are the ones that help you the most as you're navigating through. Um, and that's why
Hmm.
it's you got to have the right ones. If you just have to have the right ones for this kind of. I mean, I would say for a lot of careers, but for this
Right.
for sure.
Okay. And with that advice they gave you, is there any other advice you would give to your fellow 49ers that are interested in making a career in this industry?
Yes. Well, the one thing I really do, something that I've always been an advocate about, which is sounds silly, but none of our credentialing programs teach us about customer service.
Hmm.
They don't. But the reality is that every job, even education, has to have a layer of customer service.
Yeah.
It really does. And you have to know how to um, really speak to your clients, which is your parents.
Hmm.
And
Very good point.
and honestly, it's one thing a lot of my newer teachers will always send me little notes, little emails or a text message. Thank you for helping me wording that. I was scared. I didn't know what to respond. Thank you for letting
Hmm.
me know. And in time they start knowing how to do it on their own.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm glad I'm part of that mentorship part for them. But I will say you come into this field not knowing how important customer service is until you start realizing how much it makes a difference.
Yeah, just, that one bad experience. You don't want to damage that relationship with that parent. And then, maybe they change schools. You never know. So that is a very good point. People don't really think of that, a concept of the customer service with the teaching world.
No. They
And it's
don't.
so much of that human interaction too. So you would think it'd be, obvious to include some sort of training at
Yeah,
a
no,
school.
I have mentioned it before to my district and said, the one thing I would say we are missing is that customer service piece. And our teachers that do come in a little bit stronger with that are the ones that had other jobs
Mm-hmm.
that weren't just education.
Yeah,
The
and but they could relate it to it.
Yes, because they've had so much experience with customer service.
Hmm. Well, thank you for that note. So let me see. I don't know if we have any more questions in the chat. We're at our 45-minute mark. Let me see. I guess one last question, maybe. If you had the chance to relive attending Cal State Long Beach, would you do anything differently knowing what you know now?
No, I had so much fun. I really had a great time. I mean, the only thing I didn't do, but I was first generation in my family to attend college. So, and I'm the oldest of four girls. So, I was not given an opportunity to live on campus,
Mm,
because it was just something my parents, they were high school sweethearts and they're also not born here in the US, so they obviously had probably every negative factor of not living at home.
yes.
And I do know my second sister, she did go to my sister after me went to Long Beach State, and so I did get to support her and guide her with what to do. And so she joined a sorority, she lived at the sorority house,
Oh, very
she
cool.
became involved and at Long Beach State, and she did it because I talked to my
From your
parents
experience,
and
yeah.
my experience and let them know the one thing I wish I could have done differently was live on campus. But other than that, I didn't live on campus, but because I was so involved
Yeah,
uh,
from the cheer team.
in everything, I think I literally spent so many hours and days. And I mean, I spent a lot of time at Long Beach State.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for helping advocate for your other sister that was a fellow 49er as well. We
Yes.
love that. Generational families from the beach.
Yes.
Okay, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So thank you so much, Shirley, again, for joining us today, sharing your vast background in public education. It is amazing to see the different career paths that led you to where you are. And, again, the sky's the limit. Maybe you will be principal one day if that's the route you choose to go. But once again, for those attending, you could visit our alumni website in the weeks ahead where you'll be able to view this recording. Again, you could share it with fellow colleagues, students that are going through the graduate or their education program, getting their credential. So lastly, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn as well. And thank you and go Beach.